Over the past 10 weeks, a powerful narrative has taken hold that Israel is deliberately starving Palestinians in Gaza by blocking humanitarian aid. It's a grave accusation, one that's been echoed, amplified, and weaponised. And as we saw just last week in Washington, D.C., where Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram were murdered in an anti-Semitic attack carried out in the name of a so-called Free Palestine, words have consequences. That's why, before hitting share on the next viral post, we all have a duty to pause and seek the truth, to look beyond the headlines and hyperbole to understand the complex, painful, and often uncomfortable realities at play here. So I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. As a journalist, I'm here to unpack the facts around the aid situation in Gaza, clearly, honestly, and with context. Because if we truly care about the lives of ordinary Palestinians and Israelis, the answer isn't in more outrage or blind allegiance to slogans that breed more hate and division. It's in facing the facts, however complicated. So let's start with what Israel has actually said. Israel insists that during the ceasefire at the start of the year, hundreds of thousands of tons of aid, which should have lasted months, flooded Gaza. So why did Israel implement a blockade? Let me be very clear on this point. Israel did not implement a blockade to starve Palestinians, as Israel's critics claim, but rather to weaken Hamas's reign of terror over the population by preventing its violent takeover of food and aid going into the Strip. Since the war's outbreak, Israel has facilitated large quantities of aid going into Gaza. But as the trucks have made their way to the warehouses, Hamas has promptly stolen most of it at gunpoint. So why does Hamas steal the aid? Because it sells the aid, which comes into Gaza free of charge at greatly inflated prices to desperate Gazans. The money raised lets Hamas recruit and pay its fighters. It also distributes the stolen products to Hamas members and supporters, leaving most Gazans without aid. In fact, in the past 24 hours, footage has actually emerged of Gazans having broken into a Hamas depot which stores stolen aid, in this case, flour stocks. Also disproving the widespread lie that there is no flour available in Gaza. Despite footage capturing Hamas gunmen commandeering trucks and many Gazans themselves verifying this, the UN and NGOs have said Israel is lying that Hamas steals the aid. When the ceasefire ended in March, Israel paused the entry of aid into Gaza to force Hamas to lay down its arms, surrender, and release the hostages, 58 of whom still remain in Hamas captivity for now over 600 days. There were some encouraging signs that Israel's plan was working. Palestinians have increasingly come out onto the streets calling for Hamas to get out. As the aid and food warehouses in Gaza were starting to empty, while Hamas was still holding on to the stocks of stolen goods, Israel has agreed that the time has come for a resumption of aid out of care for the population. To make sure aid does not again end up under Hamas control, Israel has devised a three-phase plan. The first stage started with Israel authorising 100 trucks each day belonging to the various international organisations that have been delivering aid during the war. The second phase is an initiative devised by Israel and the US that is totally separate from the UN and affiliate agencies' operations. The goal of the program is to supersede their efforts. This involves the creation of 4 hubs where Palestinians can collect food directly. More sites will be opened later. Each hub will cater for about 300,000 Gazans. Each package contains 5 days of food for a family of 5. An American private group, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, or GHF, is overseeing the distribution of the food. Private security firms, which also employ local Gazans, oversee distribution of aid. The IDF is positioned at a distance and screens for Hamas fighters. On Tuesday and Wednesday this week, 2 of the 4 hubs opened. So how did it go? So far, the GHF has reportedly distributed 1.3 million meals. The aid boxes included bags of rice, dried beans, flour, oil, salt and canned vegetables. But as one would expect, there were teething problems. On the second day, just 2 hours after its opening, The aid compound in Rafah's Tal Sultan neighbourhood was overrun. GHF says the chaos only lasted 20 minutes. Security personnel fired warning shots into the air. The Hamas-controlled health ministry in Gaza has claimed that 48 Palestinians were injured. The GHF says no one was killed or injured. Hamas is clearly not happy. You see, the terror organisation tried to scare Gazans from reaching the hubs using checkpoints and issued warnings not to pick up the aid packages, claiming that Israel would use the hubs to collect intelligence on them. Senior Hamas official Osama Hamdan said, "We expect our great people to thwart the method of receiving aid today, just as they thwarted it yesterday. We trust that our people will endure hunger and not extend their hands to the occupier asking for aid." Yeah, you heard correctly. Hamas cares about its people so much it's preventing them from accessing the food aid. Footage on social media shows Gazans cheering at one of the hubs after breaking through Hamas checkpoints to reach the new aid system. The UN and aid organisations are also deeply unhappy and have refused to be involved, which raises questions about their intent. The UN's humanitarian chief Tom Fletcher claimed Israel was preventing 10,000 trucks from entering Gaza, which COGAT, the Israeli agency in charge, has rejected. Just yesterday, Israel released photos of 400 humanitarian aid trucks in Gaza waiting for the UN to distribute. In the end, the facts are stubborn. Israel is not blocking aid to starved Palestinians, it's fighting to ensure that aid reaches them rather than being hijacked by a terror group that thrives on chaos and suffering. Hamas, not Israel, has turned hunger into a weapon, exploiting its own people while the world rushes to assign blame. This is a deeply imperfect, devastating war. But if we genuinely care about human lives, then truth must matter more than trending hashtags. By introducing a new and safer mechanism to distribute aid to Gazans, Israel has shown yet again that the IDF is only targeting Hamas and cares for the citizens who are trapped under the terror organisation's clutches. This is further proof that false claims that accuse Israel of committing genocide in Gaza are in fact fueled by hate, anti-Semitism and lies. So before we condemn, we must first understand. Before we post, we must first verify. And above all, if we want peace, we must stop excusing those who continue to sabotage it.